L.I.V.E products, L.I.V.E. Live now. We're live now. So Mr. James Gunn, 22 hours ago, joined my group, Suicide Squad Lovers, for some reason. I allowed him into the group, but, that's all I'm going to say about that. Found that very strange, but whatever. So I'm going to start off with that. We're about to take a deep dive into this stuff. But first, I'm gonna get to some stuff here really quickly. Okay, start off with some stuff that some of you don't know. I'm starting with Instagram here, and this is gonna get very interesting. All right, let's go.
Illegally attacked and kidnapped by Israel and taken against our will to Israel, where we were detained, and then some of us deported, some are still there. There are very big uncertainties because it was quite chaotic and uncertain, so I don't really know what's going on. I haven't had a phone for many days, and what were the conditions for you over the last few hours? They were absolutely nothing compared to what people are going through in Palestine, especially Gaza right now. Illegally attacked and kidnapped by Israel.
That's Greta Thunberg. She had a lot of balls to do that. They usually kill people. They killed the last set of people on the flotilla. So, she had a lot of balls to do that. Go out there risking her life to go into a territory that is high risk, dangerous. Unfortunately for them, they were kidnapped. It was in international waters, but still, All right, let's keep this going.
You can see that what you do is you pretend to be people's friends. You find out what they want, what their weakness is, and you give it to them. If they want money, you give them money. If they want sex, you arrange for that. If they want drugs, you arrange for that. Whatever it is they want, their weakness is, you feed them. And then you tell them, okay, I'm doing all this for you and I just need these little favors. And you corrupt them. And you corrupt them until you can control them. And of course, you know what they're doing, so you can always blackmail them if they try to get out of line. But basically what controls them is the knowledge that if they don't go along with you, then they lose out on all these things they like. If they play ball with you, then they become rich, they become famous, they have all of their desires sated, they get everything that they want, but in a mental state which is increasingly depraved and subject to manipulation. And that's also the Venetian method, that you win by corruption. And that the thing that the empire fears most of all is an honest man who isn't corruptible because he doesn't want those things. You can see that what you do is you pretend to be people's friend.
Fidel Castro is pure Iranian ancient bloodline, and he's directly descended from Pope Paul III. He is from the papal nobility family, and he's from the Dukes of Castro. And Pope Paul III had 3 sons, and he gave each of them a dukedom. The Duke of Castro, the Duke of Piacenza, which is a city in northern Italy. That's where Castro's father was born.
And you've done the genealogies.
Absolutely.
So far, these people have been very good in veiling the truth and hiding it, because the Rockefellers own the University of Chicago. The Russell Trust runs Yale University. All these bloodlines control information, scholarship, and every single aspect, and sciences, of course, almost every single aspect of our lives that shape our world.
And if you go back some more into the Bible, you will also find mention of a global genocide. And so this is basically the Jesuit embrace, enfold, extinguish. It's the secret history of the Jesuits. Fidel Castro is pure Iranian
The Mossad killed Kennedy because they were so upset over what he did to Ben Gurion. There's a very surprising series of letters between Kennedy and David Ben Gurion, not only the prime minister of Israel, but the founder of Israel, in which they're very angry letters, in which Kennedy is saying to Ben Gurion, I'm killing myself trying to get a nuclear test ban treaty. I've even got de Gaulle on board, and that's impossible. And you keep testing in Dimona. You've got to stop. And Kennedy threatens him, and he threatens him in such a way that Ben Gurion resigns. And I will tell you, forget Lyndon Johnson, forget the CIA, forget Fidel Castro. The Mossad killed Kennedy because they were so upset over what he did to Ben Gurion. The Mossad killed Kennedy. Kennedy threatens him. Gurion.
Today, every inhabitant of this planet must contemplate the day when this planet may no longer be habitable. Every man, woman, and child lives under a nuclear sword of Damocles, hanging by the slenderest of threads, capable of being cut at any moment by accident or miscalculation or by madness. The weapons of war must be abolished before they abolish us.
The Mossad killed Kennedy because they were so upset.
The plays of William Shakespeare were actually written by a black Jewish woman called Amelia Bassano Lanier. This is a very revolutionary theory, but it's beginning to make sense. She was, after all, England's first published woman poet. She wrote a book in 1611 called Salve Deus, and she was also mistress to the man in charge of the English theatre. What's more, we found her signatures on 7 of the plays. The plays of William Shakespeare were actually written by a black Jewish woman called Amelia Bassano Lanier. This is a very revolutionary theory, but it's beginning to make sense. She was, after all, England's first published woman poet. She wrote a book in 1611 called Salve Deus, and she was also mistress to the man in charge of the English theatre. What's more, we found her signatures on 7 of the plays. The plays of William Shakespeare were actually written by a black Jewish woman called Amelia Bassano Lanier. This is a very revolutionary theory, but it's beginning to make sense. She was, after all, England's first published woman poet. She wrote a book in 1611 called Salve Deus, and she was also mistress to the man in charge of the English theatre. What's more, we found her signatures on 7 of the plays. The plays of William Shakespeare were actually written by a black Jewish woman called Amelia.
There was a man named Stanley Kubrick who produced and directed his last movie called Eyes Wide Shut. The movie Eyes Wide Shut, I think, from what indications I've received out of Hollywood, he died because of that film. I think he was assassinated because of that film, and I think he knew that his days were cut short. You need to get the movie, rent it and watch it, Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. Because in the movie, he shows how very sophisticated, wealthy, intelligent elites actually live, with their secret societies, blood sacrifices, murder, rape, pornography, killing. But on the surface, they are very important looking people. They have nice suits and they look good on television. And behind the scenes, they're murderous. And that's what the movie was called, Eyes Wide Shut, because that's exactly what America is doing, is looking at these politicians and religious leaders with their eyes wide shut. Political leaders, religious leaders, all the same thing. There was a man named Stanley Kubrick who produced Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right.
And I'm telling you, unless the American people wake up and stop it, starting in about 1996, the Battle of Armageddon will become a reality. Babylon is in Iraq. Mm-hmm. Read the book of Revelations, whether you believe in the book or not, read it, because the men who are bringing this about are using it as their script.
Well, the UN did indeed charter Israel as a sovereign nation. They were the ones who created this state.
That is correct. It was really created by Great Britain and the United States, with the United States being the major instigant.
Okay.
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right.
And I'm telling you, unless the American people wake up and stop it, starting in about 1996, the Battle of Armageddon will become a reality. Babylon is in Iraq. Mm-hmm. Read the book of Revelations, whether you believe in the book or not, read it, because the men who are bringing this about are using it as their script.
Well, the UN did indeed charter Israel as a sovereign nation. They were the ones who created this state.
That is correct. It was really created by Great Britain and the United States, with the United States being the major instigant.
Okay.
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the battle.
This is why the Jews wear the little black square on their forehead. That's a symbol for the planet Saturn. Incidentally, the Star of David is, of course, a hexagram. And on the planet Saturn, on the North Pole, is a hexagram. A lot of people don't know that. Go on the web and just look for Saturn's hex, or the hex on Saturn, and you will see a large hexagram, far, far bigger than the Earth could ever be. A large hexagram on the North Pole of Saturn. Fascinating symbolism right in front of you. We've known for many years that this hexagram was on Saturn. Hexagrams we call today the Star of David. No, the Star of David is a hexagram, and the hexagrams always represented in the ancient world the planet Saturn. So this is why the Jews still worship Saturn on Shabbat or Sabbath. The earth today is run by religion, politics, and money. It's all one game. This is why the Jews wear the little black square.
Fraternities are bloodlines, so they go long, back in history. The fact that they walk on the red carpet, the only queens and kings walk on red carpet. So how come your American presidents are doing it? Because they're bloodline. 43 American presidents, all the ones who became president, are directly linked to British monarchs by blood. From Roosevelt, in fact, all of them, all the ones who became president are linked by bloodline to royal families. And the walking on the red carpet, which is the bloodline, proves it. New World Order is found in Latin underneath the pyramid on the dollar bill, Norvis Otus Seclorum, which comes from the Latin poet Ovid. So it's an old Roman concept, a Roman term. Roman symbolism is something that needs to be studied, because you have the Roman eagle, which was in...
From the beginning, there was never any war between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was created by those at the top to fund the New World Order and the New World Order's police force. At the highest levels of all countries, they all belong to the same club. And we, the people, sit back and we watch this grand drama, which is being played out for our benefit, not theirs. If it wasn't for us, we wouldn't even have to do any of this. But you see, they just can't come out and destroy all of us because they need slaves. They need people to make their shoes and make their cars and mine the ore.
They need worker bees, and that's what we are. In the New World Order, we would be the worker bees, the slaves. Most people are no better than animals who do not have intelligence because they don't use their intelligence. And to these men who control things behind the scenes, you are stakes on the table by choice and consent, and will always be ruled and manipulated and enslaved by people who do use their brains. From the beginning, there was never any war between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was created by those at the top.
These people honestly believe that they are the descendants of gods, that they are the chosen, that they are God's special people, that we are delusional, and that the true creator is this wisdom principle that they think of as Lucifer, that wisdom principle gave us ancient mystery school teachings, and that the enemy, which they call Adonai, the adversary, which we would call the Christian God, came to try to defeat them. Then they even take it a step further and they look at texts like the Bible and they say that where it says in the end times that God will take the money from the wicked and restore it to the just, that we as a planet are the wicked and they are the just. So this is how they justify their financial corruption. They don't believe that we deserve the money. In fact, they believe that if they did not dominate us and if they did not control us and play all these games, that we left to our own devices would destroy our planet. So in some twisted rationale, they believe they are saving the earth. They believe humans are bad for the environment. We cause pollution, so they have to reduce population. Then they seed that into movies like The Matrix, where Agent Smith says that that humans are like a virus on the planet. This is one of a variety of ways in which they will usually embed their teachings into the villain. These people honestly believe that they are the descendants of gods, that they are the chosen, that they are God's special people.
These people are false Christians. They are satanic monsters pretending to be evangelists and pastors. But guess what? They are telling Bush the Jews are God's chosen. God wants him to have a land. Drive the Palestinians off of it. Take their land, take their businesses, take their orchards. What does it matter? God wants this. And Bush says, I'm doing this for God. The Jews are God's chosen people. Right. They're like gods on earth. Let's put them on the pedestal. They can't do any wrong. In fact, I've seen people like John Hagee, Cornerstone Church in San Antonio. He actually says that the chief mission of Christians today is to make sure that Israel keeps their land. Now, I thought it was to save souls. I thought it was to reach people. I thought it was to go help the downtrodden, the poor, and poverty. I thought it was to do the works of Jesus. But you know what they say? Our mission is to make Israel a superpower. Our mission is to give them billions of dollars every year in support. Our mission is to make sure the Muslims don't get the bomb, even though Israel has 400 nuclear weapons as a minimum. Right. And I have a quote from a Hebrew professor at Hebrew University, I should say, Jewish, who says if the Europeans don't do what we say, we'll nuke them too. We can topple the capitals of Europe with our nuclear bombs. These people are false Christians. They are satanic monsters.
So I've been seeing videos, everyone is up in an uproar about Donald Trump bringing over white South African refugees. I just want to point out via this screenshot that I've been talking about that since February 7th when Donald Trump signed the executive order to make white South Africans refugees. But instead of reiterating the thing that I've already said, I'm just going to play you the video that I made on February 7th. In case you don't have the information, here it is. Trump just signed an executive order to give refugee status to white people. You can't make this shit up. He signed an executive order today. It's on whitehouse.gov. And it's about South Africa. That's weird. Here's the executive order. He basically says that the government of South Africa is illegally taking land and property from the ethnic minority in South Africa. In case you don't know who that is, he's talking about white people. Now, in his executive order, he talks about how the government of South Africa is dismantling programs that are aimed to create equal opportunity and employment and education and business. Yeah, I couldn't imagine a government that would dismantle programs that would take away the equal opportunity of employment, education, and business. But Donald Trump is very upset that South Africa is doing this, and he signed an executive order giving refugee status to any ethnic minority Africana who the government's taking their shit away, which specifically is happening to white people. Now, there's some very, very important shit to talk about here. The guy who ran his entire campaign on fuck refugees just signed an executive order to make white people refugees. Number two, how does Donald Trump know what's happening in South Africa? In fact, why is America First Donald Trump so concerned about what's happening in South Africa? Oh, I gotta guess the real president is concerned about it. That's why. But thirdly, and most importantly, he literally talks about in this executive order how it is egregious that they are dismantling these programs to create equal opportunity in employment, education, and business, which is the same fucking thing he's doing here. So what does that mean? That means that Donald Trump understands that diversity, equity, and inclusion in America is necessary because of white supremacy, but he don't give a fuck. He also understands that white people in South Africa stole and hoarded resources during apartheid, and the government simply taking stolen shit back, but he don't like that because white supremacy. So this should tell you two things definitively. Number one, President Musk is in charge. And number two, during the campaign, when he was talking about immigrants, clearly, as we all said he was only talking about non-white immigrants. So I've been seeing videos.
This is not prophecy, but prediction. If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Okay, here's the list. This is an abbreviated list. I could have made it much longer. You know I can. I didn't. Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral disease pandemics. Genetically developed vaccines. DNA database tracking. DNA chips. Get this one. 1997, gene-based pharmaceuticals. Transmitting genetic instructions for a disease process. How about this one? You ready for it? Wait for it. Artificial intelligence to determine gene patterns. 27 years ago, who had heard about AI? Apparently they had. How about this one? Robots for doing genome sequencing. And then, this one blew me away, using recombinant DNA for making spike proteins. 1997? It gets even worse. Smart homes. They have a whole chapter on smart homes / smart cities. This one will absolutely floor you. It did me. In 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted, not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Come on. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices, this stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency, and last but certainly not least, vaccination programs. I'm sorry, I got to chuckle, because if I don't, I'll cry. Vaccination programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global killer that has yet to emerge. First printing, February 1997. Word. This is not prophecy, but prediction. If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Okay, here's the list. This is an abbreviated list. I could have.
In 1872, Rockefeller bought up shut down or bankrupt 90% of the oil companies. Our good old Constitution came into place, and in 1911, the Supreme Court found Rockefeller in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act and split Standard Oil into 34 independent companies. So they said, you can't have the monopoly on this, you're done. You think that changed who he was? No. He promised to bankrupt America. At that very same time, they were learning how to turn petrochemicals, exactly what he had at his fingertips with the oil, into pharmaceuticals. Now, John D. Rockefeller's biggest threat was natural health. So what does he do? Being the businessman he is, he donates money to the medical schools because he wants to control. And what do you do when you want to control someone? You give them money. And then he hired a guy by the name of Flexner to study the school's curriculum, to figure out what they were teaching everybody, and to persuade the government to establish allopathic medicine, which used the unnatural substances to treat diseases. This is how Western medicine was founded.
I got to tell you, if there's no more Chinese products coming in the United States, the one good thing we don't have to worry about is cheap shit. You're going to get some quality shit now. God bless America. Here's the famous Budweiser hat that people say it's made in China. I got news for you, China. This is not made in China. This is made in Bangladesh. Dumbasses.
Oh, wow, that confidence, sir. It's louder than your hat and about as off-center. You're proud your Budweiser hat says made in Bangladesh? That's adorable. You do realize made in Bangladesh doesn't mean not made by China, right? It just means the Chinese factory outsourced the final stitch. Labor costs rose in China, so they got smart. Now the fabric, the thread, the machines, still Chinese. But they cross the border, tagged with the discount sticker, and boom, your freedom hat is born. Congrats, you got checkmated by shipping routes and the Brother XL 2600 sewing machine. And the irony? You made this whole "we don't need China" speech on an iPhone using the Chinese app, running a Chinese processor, streaming through Chinese servers on the Chinese-made camera, held in a plastic case made in, China. This whole anti-China rant brought to you by China. You're the brand ambassador, just without a paycheck. Now let's talk about your job. Tile grout cleaner in Las Vegas, right? So you're out here scrubbing imported porcelain tiles, probably firing a kiln near Nanjing, where you're made in Bangladesh, but actually China had, while yelling about how you don't buy Chinese. My brother in capitalism, you are marinating in China. And that cheap Chinese shit line? Sweetie, China makes luxury. $100,000 tea sets, tech that NASA side eyes, fashion houses that stitch in silence and build in 5 digits. You just can't afford that here. That's not a Chinese problem. That's a paycheck problem. China doesn't decide what gets shipped to your Walmart. Your importers do. Your corporations do. They pick the cheapest options because they know you'll pick the cheapest price. And you do. You want made in USA? Sure. You got the factories, the workers, the 3 times price tag, or just the Facebook opinions. Because you're not buying made in Italy. You're not buying made in USA. Hell, you're not even buying made in Kansas. You're buying the cheapest hat that matches your weekend jeans and talking like you're head of the Federal Reserve. And don't even get me started on made in France. You think that means luxury? Darling, that silk scarf was made in Suzhou. They just sold the final label in Paris.
Not entirely, but I got to tell you, if there's no more Chinese products coming in the United States.
China doesn't decide what gets shipped to your Walmart. Your importers do. Your corporations do. They pick the cheapest options because they know you'll pick made in Kansas. You're buying the cheapest hat that matches your weekend jeans and talking like you're head of. Worry, you're not their target customer. The fantasy of quality, that price tag, it didn't dodge China. It dodged your credit score. And here's the kicker. You don't know that because global trade is complicated. And your take isn't. For 40 years, China's been holding down your prices like duct tape on a busted bumper. And now you're mad at the tape? Next time you go viral.
I got to tell you, if there's no more Chinese products coming in the United States.
The only thing holy in Rome is the stories. They're full of holes. I put the Pope in the same place with Adolf Hitler and the other fascist Nazis. Why does the Pope wear a Jewish yarmulke? Ever thought about that? Where's the Jewish yarmulke? Why? The Vatican signed contracts with the Nazis. There were two of them. They were called concordants. Now, how many people know that? The Pope signs contracts with Adolf Hitler. Here's Benito Mussolini in the Vatican signing contracts with the Vatican. Here's the Pope bowing before a mafia. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, how come the Pope has to bow to get the square on his head? You better check this out and figure out, why does the Pope have to bow to politicians? You know, here is a red shield, Rothschild, and what do you see as a symbol of fascism? The only thing holy in Rome is the stories. They're full of holes.
Albert Pike said this about Freemasonry in this very book. He says that Freemasonry is based almost totally on the Kabbalah.
Yes.
Jewish magic.
Yes.
And many Jewish rabbis have admitted this, and they say that in all of the rituals of Freemasonry, you will find the Kabbalah, the system of magic of the Jews. For example, the 30th degree of Freemasonry is the Knights of Kadosh.
Yes.
And it involves skulls and black robes and a knight laying in a coffin speaking from the dead.
Yes.
And all of this turning to the god of the underworld, the gods of the underworld, is all related to Jewish Kabbalah, because they believe in necromancy, communication with the dead. And they believe that in the last days, a Kabbalistic master will come upon the earth, and there will be a Jewish utopia, a new world order of the Jews, but they must go along with what are called the Noahide laws and be good Gentiles and go along with Kabbalah. And if they recognize that the Holy Spirit is the serpent. And by the way, that's also taught in the 32nd degree of Freemasonry, that is, the serpent is the Holy Spirit. Right. And he is going to encircle the earth. Albert Pike said this about Freemasonry.
I don't know what happened in 1990. There was no plague that was killing children, that we had tripled the amount of vaccines.
What happened after 1989?
The vaccine special.
It warranted 26 more vaccines.
Agreed.
Are all of them absolutely necessary?
They want to make money.
Of course.
It's twice as many as anywhere else in 30 countries in the Western world. But we give twice as many shots as any of those countries. Why is that?
Well, what are you against? Don't vaccinate for this, but vaccinate for that?
Yes.
I think we have to choose which
How
ones
do
are
I know
absolutely
which
necessary.
one?
You should educate yourself. We want to empower parents to educate themselves. Do we need to have the chickenpox? Do we need the hepatitis B shot on the second day of life?
I don't think we can afford to assume that the people who are charged with our public health any longer have our best interest at heart all the time. Parents have to make their own decisions, educated decisions. They have to look at the information.
Space out the vaccines. Delay them till after 1. Clean out the toxins that are in them. We don't need that many.
Why would a doctor not want to know more about something that could save a life or prevent a disease? I don't understand.
The AAP is financed by the drug companies. Medical schools are financed by the drug companies. This is a huge business. Vaccines are the largest growing division of the pharmaceutical industry. $13 billion.
They control medical schools.
What we're asking is for them to take a loss for the good of our children. That's a tough sell in a boardroom.
I don't know what happened in 1990. There was no plague that was killing.
The actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities are treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white, and there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that my doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI, because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
No, I said, so if the standards, like let's say, I think that particular thing was referring to surgeons. Let's say a surgeon is asked to, a surgeon in training is asked to do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay, I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
I didn't say it's happening.
You didn't say it was happening.
I said it will. I said if we lower standards, people will die.
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened? Because I could say,
I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
Okay, if you look at the history of the medical industry, especially when it comes to Black Americans, it shows the exact opposite. If you look at the actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities are treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white. And there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that
we here today officially announce the filing of our $100 million lawsuit against the United States government, the FBI, the CIA, and the NYPD, who we believe all conspired to assassinate Malcolm X. It is not lost on us that justice has been delayed in this matter. And on this momentous occasion, we stand ready to lay out our complaint very soundly. We believe there is solid ground to go forward with this lawsuit at this time. We here today officially announce the filing of our $100 million lawsuit against the United States government, the FBI, the CIA, and the NYPD, who we believe all conspired to assassinate Malcolm X. It is not lost on us that justice has been delayed in this matter. And on this momentous occasion, we stand ready to lay out our complaint very soundly. We believe there is solid ground to go forward with this lawsuit at this time. We here today.
Yo, what is this I'm hearing about how France and the US want to arrest Ibrahim Traore? Are you taking the piss? Like this man didn't kick France out of his country. Like this man didn't open up 2 tomato processing plants. Like this man didn't make medical health care free for all, no matter what your status is. And recently, over the last couple of days, made education free up until uni. And the dirty, stinking colonizers want to arrest him. Are we supposed to act like France didn't have its hands around Burkina Faso's throat for how long? And now we have a leader who's doing what no bumper clock cowardice African leader has done. And you want to arrest him on what charges? Listen, as a black people, if there's one thing we can all unite around the globe, it's because of this man, you understand? And he needs to be protected, all costs, spiritually, physically, mentally. He needs to be protected by every single one of us. They already tried to take his life 19 times, yeah? And it's clearly going up. So I suggest you start praying for this man, praying for his life, praying for his family, praying for his country. And to all of you cowardice African leaders, yeah, if they try and step to Traore, You need to prove yourselves and try and protect him. Send military, send resources, send everything you can to make sure that he protects his country. That's what you should do. But we know how it goes already with you African leaders. You rather fatten up your pockets rather than look after your people. Some of you don't even deserve to be leaders, because if you're not even putting your life on the line for your people, for your country, what the hell are you doing trying to run it? You see how Ibrahim done it? And it only took him 18 bumperclot months. Yeah? And some of you have been leaders for over 20 years. Your people should spit in your face for the way you leaders left them high and dry and living in poverty and fattening up the pockets of the West. So come on.
Yep. And that happens in my country and in many countries around the world. Because again, as we said, all the leaders, they belong to a certain club. We the people. World War III, I said before, will not be fought by nation versus nation. No, it'll be the people versus their governments. The people versus their governments. That's what's up, people. That's what's up. Warner Brothers Discovery is splitting into two companies. Streaming and studios, WB Television, WB Pictures, WB Games, DC Studios, HBO Max, their film and TV libraries, and then global networks, CNN, TNT Sports, Discovery, Discovery Plus, and other TV networks. I'm going to say this right now. I think all of you know. Warner Brothers Discovery is splitting up into Warner Brothers and Discovery. That's all that's happening. Now, some of the properties that were Turner and on Warner Brothers properties like CNN, TNT Sports, they're kind of going across to Discovery now. But basically, this is Warner Brothers and Discovery separated. It's just that Discovery's taking things like CNN and TNT Sports. All right. Clearly, they're separating because I'm going to tell you this. They know that James Gunn's Superman movie is going to flop. They're hoping a lot of people go to see the movie in the opening weekend. That's what they're hoping for. That movie needs to make close to $1 billion to break even. That's not happening. So that's the situation. Let's see what people are saying. There's like 538 comments on that. The flop is incoming, so Discovery is about to leave WB. That's what I said. Total Disclosure Podcast says, can anyone follow this anymore? Carlos has a toxic face there. Jacob, Restore the Snyderverse says, sells the Zack Snyder Justice League to Netflix, Restore the Snyderverse. A lot of people saying Restore the Snyderverse. All this because WB tried to fuck this man, which is Zack Snyder. Ely Zimmerman says, isn't that how they used to be before they merged? Sort of. Film and TV show says the most confused media company. So we're actually right back where we were before they changed HBO Max to Max. Yep, pretty much. We're going to get back to this in a minute. But let's go to this. Hassan Mafi says, Donald Trump says, go back to where you came from. He's talking to the Mexicans. He's talking to the, Palestinians, the people supporting the Palestine cause. Remember, there are a number of these people now that are in concentration camps, aka they call them detention centers, within the United States, and some are in El Salvador. And the Native Americans are saying, so when are you leaving? Hassan Mafi gets it.
Is one of these Israelis who's going around doing propaganda tours on manufacturing consent for the United States to go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel. We can't make the same mistake that we did in Iraq.
If you take out Saddam, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
We should not go to war in Iran on behalf of Israel. If Israel wants to go to war with Iran, they should do it themselves without our military support, and that includes taxpayer dollars. Go do it on your own. Go ahead and enlist, baby girl. Go do your thing, but leave America out of it. Our men and women in our armed forces shouldn't die on behalf of your country, period.
Okay, I'm going to leave it.
Our men and women shouldn't die.
Okay, so I wanted to share this little insight I got, and I didn't realize it. A lot of you probably don't know this. Of course, Israel is, tightly wired to Europe and to the United States because the so-called Israelis that we talk about are actually Americans, British people, Germans, Russians, Ukrainians, Brazilians, Argentinians who settled in Palestine. And some of them are actually former Nazis. Some of them worked with Nazis. They're called Zionists, but they work with Nazis. But here's the kicker. Here's the serious thing. France as well. They're Europeans, basically. And some Latin Americans, but they're all white. Anyway, the point I'm making is not that. The point I'm making is that if you look right now at what's happening in Gaza, particularly, Israel can't get the manpower to go into Gaza and have the IDF continue to oppress these people. A lot of the people in the Air Force, a lot of people who are ground soldiers, they have stopped backing the IDF. They are shortage. They have huge shortages of soldiers going in there and doing things, whether it's manning drones or whatever. And this is because the Israeli society is sick to its stomach and getting sicker by the day to their stomachs. The settlers, they're pushing for that. The government represents the settlers and so on, right? Right-wing people. But the average Israeli, whether they're in Tel Aviv, wherever they are, they're sick to their stomach of what's going on. And there are tremendous protests going on in Israel, and there's a lot of people being arrested, and all kinds of crazy things are happening. You look at East Jerusalem, and, there are Jews in East Jerusalem who side with the Palestinians, period. And they have been arrested. A lot of people have been arrested, detained, put into concentration camps with the Palestinians, but in different places in those concentration camps. Of course, these are brutal concentration camps. Shout out to Dr. Abu Safia. Again, he's been arrested, or not arrested, sorry, he's been kidnapped since early this year. And, we need to know what's happening with him. And there are several other people we should speak about, but I can't really cover that right now. But the point I'm making anyway is Israel doesn't go to war because it doesn't want its people to hate the wars that are happening and to rebel. And that's why they hire mercenaries. That's why they work with ISIS. That's why they work with, they try to get American, and they do, get American soldiers and special forces to do the work for them. And they try to sow discord in other countries and get the people in the countries to turn against their governments. Not the people, orchestrate a CIA, Mossad event, red flag event. So this is what they've been doing through the Middle East, because if the public gets a speed of what they're really doing, as is happening now in Israel, and even the opposition is calling out what the government is doing, this is because the people, and any person, I'm going to say this, any person with a conscience, anyone who's grown up in a society with other people, even if you are not in the same society and culture, there's a common human link between us. We don't like to see other human beings get killed. And the graphic images that have been shielded from Israel for so long that they don't know of and they're not aware of what's happening in Palestine, now it's getting ugly and everybody sees it. Everybody's seeing what's going on. And no matter how draconian they try to be in the United States of America or in England or in some other part of the world, it's not stopping people from being appalled by what's happening. And any person with a conscience, I don't care if you live in Israel, I don't care if you live in Pakistan, I don't care if you live in India, I don't care if you live in Thailand. Any human being with a conscience seeing what is happening inside of Palestine, it turns their hearts cold. And there are people committing suicide in the IDF. There's so much crazy things going on there. Let's not forget, again, the IDF is involved in bombing campaigns in Syria. There's mass slaughter going on in Syria as we speak because ISIS, which is a sort of proxy of Israel and America, is wreaking havoc there. ISIS that was born in Iraq to destabilize the country, American CIA up, is now going rogue. And so American CIA can't control it as much. Turkey has their people inside of Syria as well, butchering it up with the Kurdistans. This is the kind of craziness that's going on. Now, here's what I'm saying. Israel wants other people to fight its wars because it knows that the people in Israel will be turned against those wars and they will not continue the wars. And now, the same way those people in Israel feel is the same way how Americans are beginning to feel about all these wars that we've been having. And it's the same way how now people of the world are banding together. And this is very important. There's something beautiful about that. That humanity is coming as one. It's not about Muslim. It's not about Jew. It's not about Christian. It's not about Buddhist. It's not about Hindu. It's about people. And our awakening is a very important one. And the rising up is important because now we get to see what history really is. Now we get to hear the true stories. Now we open our hearts and minds to people who this Western empire has told us were bad people, bad players. You see the truth's coming out now to light. Good versus evil. This is what they always say. The thing about it is, the evil people are these oligarchs, these leaders, these rulers who do not care about the people. And they want to see you dead. 6.6 billion of us, or more. Could be even more than that. Could be almost 8 billion of us. I think there's 8.2 billion people in the world. But 4.4 billion of us are awake or awakening to the truth of what is happening. And it's only a matter of time before we overthrow these governments, before we overthrow these people. If it's going to be World War III, I guarantee you this, the people will win. No matter what these wicked people do, because they're not the majority of us. Now, they're trying to indoctrinate the masses into their way of thinking, into their way of doing things. They're trying to replace us with AI technology and androids. And they're working assiduously for that. They're trying to ID us and our lifestyle patterns and our behaviors through AI and through their surveillance methods. They're targeting individuals. You saw it with the protests. They were taking pictures and targeting the individual protesters with their identification software. And I'm telling you right now, if they can look at us, we must look back at them. Don't let them move in the darkness. And I see you guys exposing them and bringing them to the public eye so everybody can know who these people are. Because they're not many people. I don't even think these people who run the show, I don't even think there are a million of them in existence. It's a finite group of people who move in the shadows, in the dark. It's about time we call their numbers, pull their cards, and expose them to the world so the world can know who they are. Fake Batman. Shout out to Fake Batman. Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Prince William, George W. Bush, Emmanuel Macron, Boris Johnson, Pope Francis. All of these people have kissed the Wailing Wall, which is not even the Wailing Wall. It's a Roman establishment. Abdullah Omar, a long survivor inside of Palestine who's been starved and he's fighting hard for his life, says we'll never forgive, we'll never forget, always remember. I don't know if that's a member of his family, and I'm really truly sorry if that is his brother or who that is. It looks like a child. A lot of children in Palestine. This is the greatest scourge of children. This is the greatest slaughter of children in the world ever in a long time. This is just reprehensible. This is disgusting. For American society that says it defends women and children, this is despicable by the American regime, the governments. This is evil. Let me tell you a little something, guys. Let me tell you a little something. You see this little dead boy here? There's something called spirit harvesting. The reason why these wicked people kill children, murder children, rape children, it happens in my country, it happens in almost every Western country in the world. They try to harness what is known as, they harvest spirit energy. And it's the spirit energy of the children. Okay? They also kill virgins. They want someone who is pure. Children are the closest thing to being pure. That is why they do human sacrifices using children. Human sacrifices using virgins. Human sacrifices using innocence. Okay? That is why these wars target civilians. They're trying to get energy off of it. These wicked, evil, disgusting people. Okay? So this is what's happening. We have villains that run the world. Satan, the enemy of our souls, the ultimate villain, he's at the top of that chain. They worship him. In my country, in almost all the Caribbean countries, the leaders worship the devil, as do almost all the leaders in the international world. It's a cabal. It's a lodge. Now you saw that some of the prominent people in the world belong to royal blood. And that's why we have the red carpet. So some of the world leaders are linked to royalty in England or royalty in Italy or royalty in other places. And this royalty is linked to spiritual people, spiritual heads, popes, bishops, cardinals, etc. Priests, as we say. And this is important for you to understand. This world is built on spiritual things. You know, a lot of people say there is no God. You're the biggest idiot. That's why God says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. There is a God, and there is a devil. There is the God, and then there is a God, or one who wants to be as God. And this world is run by him. But the Most High protects his people. Greta Thunberg, who is, to me, she has a lot of balls, and she's a hero. The Sweden Foreign Minister Maria Palmer Stenergaard said that Greta Thunberg and the 11 other activists illegally detained by Israeli forces are not in danger and do not require consular support via Swedish media. Of course, she's saying that now, after Greta has been back in Switzerland, or Sweden, should I say, because I think Greta's a Swede. Nonetheless, Greta tried to get aid, and I suggest she do it again. She goes more than once, try and get that aid into the Palestinians. She tried to do the best she could, and that was ballsy, because I'm telling you right now, they could have killed them. I was ballsy. They need to have protection. Becco Movie says again, the BBS Chris Terrio script writing is out of this world. She's talking about BBS. BBS is a masterpiece of cinematography, of course. I love how in Man of Steel, as Superman is saving humanity, Perry won't leave the side of the young lady who was distressed. I remember that as well. Yes, and they're talking a little bit more about Man of Steel. For the past few days, for some reason, I've been thinking constantly how Zack Snyder's DC trilogy did to superhero movies what Watchmen did to comics. It shattered the illusion of innocence, which is true. And believe you me, man, there's so much going on in the world today. Noctis Draven says, so many times I see Americans and Westerners complain about Islam and how it isn't compatible with the West. But they never stop in their emotions and hate to ask, why is this happening? Who is doing this? What is the source of issue? Why are they even showing up all of a sudden? Well, let me lay it out for you. Zionists that have infestated and infiltrated the right wing in America and the West instigate and advocate for wars in the Middle East that ravage and displace Muslims from their homes, lands, and countries. Zionists that have invested and infiltrated the left wing in America and the West instigate and advocate for policies that open borders to these displaced Muslims. The goal and end game is, as of now, twofold: to create greater Israel, gain, maintain dominance in the Middle East, and risk very little because Americans and the West do the heavy lifting and fight the wars. Keep Western countries convoluted at internal war culturally and prevent any real hegemony within these countries, keep them divided among themselves, and kill nationalism, allowing them to be more easily controlled. You are two dogs thrown into a dog-fighting pit, meant to tear each other apart. But I'm here to grab you by your stubborn snouts, to force you to see who's throwing you into the pit. It's okay to be angry, to be furious even, but let me direct that fury in the right direction. Yes, they're trying to weaken other nations around them, so that when they're ready for their one-world government, they can do it. A dystopian future. Okay. I have a lot to say, but here's something else here.
Illegally attacked and kidnapped by Israel and taken against our will to Israel, where we were detained, and then some of us deported, some are still there. There are very big uncertainties because it was quite chaotic and uncertain, so I don't really know what's going on. I haven't had a phone for many days, and what were the conditions for you over the last few hours? They were absolutely nothing compared to what people are going through in Palestine, especially Gaza right now. Illegally attacked and kidnapped by Israel and taken against our will to Israel, where we were detained, and then some of us deported, some are still there. There are very big uncertainties because it was quite chaotic and uncertain, so I don't really know what's going on.
Matt Kennard says, Zionism has lost control. The whole project is imploding. Go harder than ever. I agree with Matt Kennard. This is not a time to stop speaking on these things and also acting on these things. You have to continue to frustrate the efforts of these wicked people and they are wicked people. These are not good people. These are people who worship Satan. And you have to just keep the pressure on. Now that you know what you know, there are a lot of casualties in this, and there will be more casualties. But you have to keep the pressure on. And this is not about freeing Palestine anymore. This has come to your doorstep. The next step is the removal of you. And they're doing it already in California. They're talking about removing illegals, but they're people's families, their children, their wives, their husbands. They're trying to rip apart the families and destroy them. And these draconian measures, I'm sure a lot of Israelis are behind this. Obviously, it started off with campuses, and now it has moved on to residents. Some civilians have been arrested, and now they are attacking minorities, particularly the Mexican workers in California. And the mayor is not doing anything about it. The governor is not doing anything about it. And as much as they talk and answer and so on, they're not taking drastic measures to make sure that this is clamped down on. And the people are waging war against the FBI, against ICE, and against the other agencies. And they have all right to do so. As much as people say these people are illegally there, they are working. They are giving back to society. And the people who are there clamping down on, they may not have their papers right, but they are being positive elements in the state of California. California's economy depends on them. So you're looking to cripple California's economy by removing these people, close down businesses because you're removing these people, etc., etc. In my country, we have Venezuelans. In my country, we have a change of government, and I'm listening to the stupid clown talk about how she wants to remove some of the Venezuelans from my country. We nationalized a lot of our Venezuelans in our country, got them some citizenship or residency. We look to try and help people who help themselves. So if you came to a country to get, benefits from that country, and you got yourself legalized, and you're working, you're doing jobs, and you're working in different places, doing hard labor, I'm not mad at you because I know the citizens of the country are not really interested in doing that. I listened to an old guy I was talking with talk a lot of bullshit about, the people really want these jobs as well. I'm like, fuck no. Nobody wants to do those jobs. Those are menial jobs, right? And the truth is, the same thing happens in America. The Latinos that come across to America, particularly from Mexico, they work hard. These people work hard, and the family unit is a very important structure for these people. And of course, a lot of Mexicans, what a lot of people don't know, they say they're Spanish. No, they're actually Native Americans mixed in with European blood, but they're descendants of Native Americans, the same people that this stupid European fucking clowns, they actually killed out and forced them to leave the majority of what the United States of America is today, and Canada. Okay, it's the native tribes that used to live there. So if the descendants of these tribes are coming back to America and helping the economy by, of course, driving products and stuff, they get paid wages back. It's small, nominal, but big for them, because once you carry it across to Mexico, some of that money can help their families and stuff in Mexico. So it's a win-win. These people have actually come to your country, and they're helping to build your country for you. And since you haven't convicted them in a court of law, you just kind of apprehend them, especially when some of them are getting their nationalized status or whatever. You're really just shooting yourself in the foot. But on top of that, you're also building up a case against you, because all of this is going to be documented. And you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law when you find that you've abused your authority and you're working against the interest of the people. California is made up of a tremendous percentage of Mexicans. I mean, you have to be a complete asshole to be going after Mexicans. To tell me that there's 6.6 million people who are illegally in the United States of America. Okay, if they're involved in crimes, convict them of the crimes in a court of law and send them back to their country. I can understand that. What I cannot understand is the people who are trying their best, trying to get the American dream, or whatever you want to call it, and they're working hard, and they're contributing to society. They actually have they pay taxes and all kinds of shit because of their work status. They have to, the company has to deduct for taxes and stuff, so they have to pay taxes and stuff. So they have work permits and everything. You have to be out of your fucking mind to want to get rid of these people who are contributing to your economy. I mean, how stupid can you be? But that's how this government is fucking racist, and they're all about the elite, and so they don't care. They don't care if these people contribute to the trillions of dollars that you get from taxes. No, they don't care. And this is the kind of stupidity that we deal with. Now, they don't get personal income tax from them, but they do get working tax from them, right? Because they tax them. The company gets taxed, and indirectly it taxes the workers. So they still get taxation money from them. And then when they purchase things in the United States of America, they pay purchasing tax. So they are giving taxes to the American government and to the economy. So it's so fucking stupid what they're doing. America has been built on immigrants. And the first fucking immigrants to the United States of America didn't have fucking visas. They were the Puritans. And the Native Americans took them in. And what did they do? They genocided them. These fuckers. The audacity of these people. Anywho, I'm going to wrap it up right here. There's so much more to cover. But I'm going to take it right there. I want you guys to understand Palestine is not emblematic only and solely of the Palestinians. Palestine reminds us that we live in a white supremacist world in which the oligarchs, the elite that come from different lineages, are trying to manipulate us and destroy us. It's still a fucking plantation, if you didn't know. So, I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to leave it at that. I am Christ, I am disciple. You guys have a good one.